Welcome, adventurers! You've made it to the Wind Down, the live stream at the end of the Geekverse. It's a chill place to hang out here as the sun sets on another day. We're here to have a little chat, reflect on the day's successes, and prepare for a better tomorrow. So settle in with your favorite beverage this evening.
May I tempt you with a cup of chamomile?
Why, thank you, Dory. I would love a mug of tea this evening, but perhaps you would rather have some coffee, though I do recommend a decaf this late in the evening. Or perhaps maybe a cold brew is more your style.
Oh, no thank you, Dory. A little red wine. For me, I think.
Sounds like an excellent choice, Gandalf. Whatever you want, it's yours. Could I offer you a bourbon, a martini, an old-fashioned, or something perhaps a little stronger? Ugh. Well, I mean, if that's really your thing, then okay, but I hope we can find something a bit better than that.
Romulan ale? Why, Bones, you know this is illegal.
I only use it for medicinal purposes.
All right, now we're talking. I'm Heath, and I'll be your host. Welcome to my home. Come one, come all, writers, artists, sculptors, storytellers, board gamers, streamers, dungeon masters, fans of sci-fi, fantasy, geeks of all kinds. Whatever your fandom, you have a place here. For soon it will be time for another long rest so that we can recover our hit points, our spells, and our abilities, so we'll be ready to fight on for another day tomorrow. But first, we all need a little time to reflect. Because you've survived another long, perilous day of wilderness treks, dungeoneering, and random encounters. And that's worth celebrating. Let's tell the tale. It's time for the Wind Down. It will improve your life. It really will. Give it a chance. Here we go. Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome. It is great to see you. I have been working on game design for the past several days. I've made a lot of progress, and I think that I am just about now at the point where this could be the last read-through before I take the 0th level character generation for the Hacked Edge and then move it to something that's actually more usable and can actually be tested and created and, make characters with it. I'd love to be able to do like an online character creator and things like that and see exactly what we've got here. That doesn't mean that it won't be tweaking, of course, because that's the whole purpose of moving on to testing. But I think I have the whole process described. I have not gotten to... I was working before the stream on gear, weapons, and cantrips. And I haven't really gotten to... I was working on gear and weapons and have been making some first passes at those. So that's not quite ready, but, I don't think it's going to take too much longer, so I'm excited about it. So I'm excited about having this kind of as the Hacked Edge. Because, I was doing the Tales of Rabavania game design and so forth, and I was like, it doesn't really make sense for me to do the OSE version of this alone, because there's a lot of material there done. But it just didn't make sense for me to do that, only that kind of, only that material, since the Hacked Edge is, my revision of the OSE. It makes sense to have that system down so that the world information, the information about the different aspects of those worlds can be included in that same book. So I was like, all right, my life is nothing but no matter what you want to do, you got to do something else first. So start doing something and then realize, I got to do something else first. So that's why I was going forward with the different world books, but then realized I really need to get my own system down. So that's what this is. And so the Hacked Edge is getting the system down while not trying to completely rebuild a completely new system since it's OSE based. Stray just gifted a membership. Thank you very much, Stray. Let me go over here and see who got it. Look. Let's see. Stray says, Zilterm. Zilterm received a membership. Thank you very much, Stray. If you're here in the chat, let us know. Thank you very much, Stray. I really appreciate that. Okay, so let's see. This is what I've been working on over the past few days. So let's check this out. Okay, so this says, first of all, how long is it? I mean, everything expands. So up through ability score modifiers, which does not include gear, weapons, or cantrips. Introduction through that is 6,292 words. I don't think I want this to be over 15,000 words. 12,000 might be nice, but they're still playing the game and all of that to go. So like everything expands, no matter what I do, there's always the expanded scope creep and stuff. Okay. But I figured, hey, why not get online here? And if anybody is here and wants to have a chill evening, let me know what you think here. And we're going to go through here with, introduction. Welcome to the Hacked Edge, a guide to 0th level play. So this is very much focused on 0th level. Welcome to the Hacked Edge, a guide to 0th level play. The Hacked Edge is a targeted hack of the Old School Essentials OSE, re-engineered to make dungeon crawling fast, decisive, and exciting. This guide allows you to generate 0th level characters quickly. These rules support gauntlets, a single character surviving brutal dungeon rooms, perfect for solo play. I think that'll be a fun option here. Funnels, masked peasants sent into the dark to see who survives, and traditional campaigns for the ultimate gritty low-level experience. So I distinguished between gauntlets and funnels here. So gauntlet, this is Shadow Dark uses the term gauntlet for something that's kind of like a funnel, but I distinguish between those two. Okay, overview of changes in game design philosophy. So this is basically what I have been doing here as I've been sitting here trying to write all of this. So overview of changes in game design philosophy. Well, players familiar with old school essentials and traditional RPGs will easily grasp the hacked-edged core mechanics. Hey, good evening, PH. Great to see you. Good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Was hoping you'd be around. Players familiar with old school essentials and traditional RPGs will easily grasp the hacked edge core mechanics. Indeed, this guide assumes a basic familiarity with them. However, veterans must adjust their tactics as the hacked edge introduces several major philosophical and mechanical changes as follows. Health and stamina. While inflationary hit points are a genre staple, their exact meaning has always been debated. The hacked edge retains hit point progression but splits hit points into health and stamina. Oh, hey, Shellmel. Good to see you. Welcome. Great to have you this evening. Health. I went back and forth. I think this was wounds at one time, but I changed this over to health. That way, health points have the same abbreviation as hit points. But then also I wanted to use the term wounds in a different way because tracking individual wounds, I needed that to be separate. So I went with stamina points and health points. Health represents physical injury and bodily limits. Stamina represents the ability to dodge, parry, or turn a lethal blow into a glancing one through luck, exertion, or any other method. But don't get too comfortable. 0th level characters typically possess 0 stamina, meaning all incoming damage reduces health points directly. Tracking individual wounds. While stamina is a single pool of points, like standard hit points, reductions to health are tracked as individual wounds. If you take a hit for 1 damage and then another for 2 damage, they do not merge into a general 3-point health reduction. They remain distinct 1 and 2-point wounds. This has direct consequences for both healing and role-playing. Fortunately, wounds heal in parallel, meaning it's safer to suffer several smaller hits than a single massive injury. This system also helps GMs adjudicate NPC responses. A monster might shrug off several small chips to its health, but react differently to a character who deals a single massive multi-point wound to it the moment the PCs burst through the door. I found that to be very helpful when game mastering. That it's not like, because I was using basically this kind of system when I was playing with my nephews, and knowing exactly how the monster has been injured was a big thing. Assuming you're not going to have everybody fight to death. That's one thing. Okay, just every monster will fight until it's completely dead. Okay, fine. But if you're not doing that, if you're using morale points, if you're using something like that, then understanding how the creature has been wounded, to me, was a very important part of that. I mean, that was very helpful. Walk in the door, smash open the door and then deliver a devastating wound, even if it didn't kill the creature. Might cause it to run away or sue for peace or something like that, in a way that multiple low point hits might not. No to hit rolls. The hacked edge aims to minimize turns and especially rounds where the game state does not materially change. This means that ideally, players should never face the exact same circumstances 2 turns in a row, especially if their options have not also changed. Should I say the way I said that? Have not also changed. To maintain this momentum, the game eliminates whiff rounds where all combatants miss their targets. Players no longer roll to hit, they simply roll for damage. However, damage is determined by character class or profession rather than weapon type. So damage by class, not weapon. A trained fighter is more lethal with a dagger than a wizard is with a greatsword. Therefore, damage depends on the character's class rather than the weapon itself. I'll divide that into 2 sentences. At 0th level, characters use a universal damage die for physical damage determined by their profession. At 1st level, might as well just make that a separate sentence as well. At 1st level, they unlock distinct damage dice based on their class and weapon size. Okay, the medium armor baseline. Rather than calibrating combat math against an unarmored and unarmed peasant, the hacked edge assumes a baseline of attacking an armed opponent in medium armor who is aware of your attack. This streamlines play because mathematical adjustments only need to be made when a combatant significantly deviates from the adventuring norm. Cutting down an unarmored peasant is easy, even for a 0th level character. D2 and D3 hit dice. And, I posted, PH, a write-up of the D2 and D3 hit point systems that we've talked about here to Reddit the other day. It's kind of a preparation to maybe finally make a video on that subject. I still really like it, and that's why I've adopted it here. But a lot of people on Reddit thought it was too complicated, which kind of surprised me. I don't really think that rolling D2s and D3s, some combination of D2s and D3s for hit dice are all that complicated. But a lot of people on Reddit were like, this is too complicated. Man, you're making this much harder than it has to be. Why are you expending so much brain power on trying to come up with a different way to generate 1st level hit points? Okay, whatever. Hey, Grimhild, it is great to see you. Man, we get a different group of people here in the evenings. Now that have kind of returned to streaming in the evenings rather than in the mornings. So yes, it has been a while. I hope you're doing well. It's great to see you. So I said D2 and D3 hit points. Oh, Grimhild says, I ran a 0th level game using Greyhawk Book 0 level rules set in Waterdeep back in 1987. It was a great campaign. I think that, I am a fan of 0th level gaming just because one of the most emotional games that I have ever played was a 0th level game. He ran it excellently, and so you can run some amazing stuff even at 0th level. You don't have to have all of this, the bells and whistles of a modern day, modern designed 10th level character or something like that to play really great games. So one of the most commonly house ruled items in classic games is the process of generating starting hit points. House rules often prevent players from rolling a 1 and thus being in fear that even a fighter might die from a single scratch. In the Hacked Edge, players roll multiple smaller-sided dice for health points, providing a better distribution of potential starting values than a flat roll of a larger die. Further, a 0th level character's health determines profession rather than vice versa. This ensures there are no fighters with only 1 or 2 health points. Only characters with higher totals qualify for fighter-like professions. Thus, characters will better be able to fulfill their role in the party. And that was important to me, that niche protection, I want you to, if you're playing a fighter, to actually be able to play a fighter even at 0th level. Not a crippled fighter. Random chaotic initiative. The primary goal of the Hacked Edge is to discourage predictable, optimized routines and prevent mathematically optimal gameplay. To replicate the terrifying chaos of melee, initiative is randomized each round. This is best executed at the table using an initiative deck shuffled at the start of every turn, but there are other methods as well. Because combat is fast and unpredictable, players must stay highly engaged and adapt to fleeting opportunities. Weapon properties over raw damage. Because weapon damage is tied to class, weapons are differentiated by their tactical properties, which is something that I'm still working on, including damage type and reach. Engaging in melee with a short weapon against a long weapon can be deadly. You must close the distance with the dagger before the enemy runs you through with the halberd, and PH was helping quite a bit with the rules for closing, which was fantastic. Significance of inventory and spells. All gear and spells in this volume are designed to provide a situational mechanical advantage. This helps ensure that everything on the character sheet materially impacts the game and provides you with meaningful gameplay options. This is very important to me and has also been a reason why this is taking a while to design, because it seems like a staple of a lot of the low level or 0th level kinds of gaming is that you end up with an eclectic collection of items. Yeah, you get a starting item or something, but it's something rather eclectic, or can be something rather eclectic. And so if you're looking at that and you're going, what do I do with this? I mean, there might be role-playing things to do or some kind of creative thing that you come up with off the top of your head because you've got some weird thing you rolled for at 0th level. I was trying to avoid that. And so I was like, okay, what is my list of items going to be? So regardless of your profession, you're going to draw from this certain list of items, and that every one of those items is potentially useful in the dungeon, or actually does provide a situational mechanical advantage to some situation in the dungeon. So this is kind of biased toward dungeon crawling. I admit that. This is kind of biased toward a dungeon crawl. So I didn't want to just put, you've got a broken table leg, or if you're the barber, you've got a dull razor. What are you supposed to do with that? So I was trying to come up with, and I'm not completely done with this yet because I was working on gear before this started, but what's my gear list? What situation would having this piece of gear actually give you an advantage or allow you to overcome some kind of obstacle that you wouldn't be able to if you didn't have it? And that's kind of what I mean by saying that everything on the character sheet materially impacts the game. And also, I was having fun with the spells too, because I'm just dealing with cantrips here. So I've got a new system for cantrips in here, because I also think that first level characters should have more than one spell. So that's a difference between me and old school essentials anyway, and a lot of other old school gaming. I want them to have more than one spell, and one way to do that is to have cantrips that are more useful than what was in Carcass Crawler 5. So Carcass Crawler 5 for the old school essentials introduced cantrips, but they are still really minor spells and not particularly useful in a dungeon environment. So I was trying to come up with good cantrips based on some of the existing cantrips. I mean, I didn't create these spells from scratch, but what I did was even if it's a combat spell, okay, here's a combat spell that can deal damage, but then how else could this spell be used in the dungeon to overcome some type of situational or mechanical advantage? That was important to me. Kind of in the spirit of was it Spells and Magic from AD&D that had different ways to use existing spells. So that's important. So the spells provide a lot of utility. We'll probably have to look at that on the next stream. We probably won't get to that, but that'll give me a little bit more time to work on them. But time is a resource. Time is a constant factor in the Hacked Edge, especially in a dungeon. Long actions such as searching a room or caring for the critically wounded cannot be undertaken without risk. Assumption of non-grid based play. While nothing stops players from using miniatures on a grid, this guide assumes an abstract approach to distance. Positioning is handled through either theater of the mind or by using miniatures or VTT tokens to represent general and relative locations, rather than strict square-by-square positioning. Final note on compatibility. While this guide is relatively self-contained, it is built on the OSE framework. Situations Should situations arise that are not covered here, GMs can easily refer to OSE or other old school compatible systems for guidance. In fact, to facilitate compatibility, this design deliberately does as little violence as possible to the core mechanics of OSE. Let's say just of OSE. That's the difference between the hacked edge and something like the faded edge we were working on, because in the faded edge, we were definitely working on mechanics. Old school play is renowned for its use of different resolution mechanics depending on the task being attempted. Rolling high on a d20 for saving throws, rolling low on d6 for skill checks, and rolling low on d20s for ability checks. As such, creating a unified action mechanic would be too much like building an entirely new system rather than hacking an existing one. Consequently, the hacked edge retains multiple resolution systems as they are an integral part to the game's old school feel. However, this game has eliminated percentile-based skill resolution, instead integrating percentile-based skills into the D6 skill system. Like, having two different skill resolution systems is too much. I realize that OSE is trying to replicate what was already there, but if you're looking at that, not only do I have multiple resolution systems for what I'm trying to do, skills have two different possible ways to, and that was too much. I was like, I think I can streamline that a little bit to make sure that all skills are D6 based rather than a mix of D6 and percentile based. So I converted all of the percentile based skills to D6 to at least unify the way skills are used. Likewise, experience levels and experience points gained by defeating monsters have been retained to better ensure easy compatibility with other old school materials. I did not, for the purposes of this project, want to go back and try to recalculate and rebalance experience points and all of that. So I'm not even trying that. So I'm just importing all of that. Further, note that this system does not adhere to any particular game setting. It's intentionally general. The rules describe the standard fantasy setting of elves, orcs, halflings, dwarves, etc. Any setting-specific information can, of course, be altered as necessary to conform to any particular game setting. Okay, let's get started making 0th level characters. So that's kind of my design philosophy. That's my design philosophy and what I was trying to do and what I was creating here. Okay, creating 0th level characters. Most people in the game world are not adventurers. They are classless characters of 0th level. These rules can generate NPCs, hirelings, and retainers, but here they are primarily intended to create player characters who have not yet earned their class. Whether playing a gauntlet, a funnel, or traditional adventures, all characters can begin at 0th level. There are two categories of 0th level characters, human and demi-human. While each has a distinct generation process, both begin by rolling core ability scores and selecting a race. And I really thought that the demi-humans were important to include. I wanted to include them, but as it turns out, and I really would have been nice to have had just one kind of generation process. But for old school essentials and the way it goes, demi-humans needed their own generation track. There's a lot of overlap, obviously, but there's a lot of other things you do with demi-humans. And so I decided, let me just separate a human and a demi-human creation track. That took a while to get sorted out and get all that written down. So now we have two tracks. But they begin here with step 1. Both of them begin here. So step 1, roll ability scores. Roll 3d6 in order for all 6 abilities. Unlike first level character creation, there is no shopkeeper rule. You must keep the scores exactly as rolled. Because 0th level characters lack a class, there are no primary abilities and no opportunities to modify or shift skulls. Oh, Stray said this show is awesome. Well, thank you, Stray. You're a demi. You are? Which one? So step 2 is determine race, which is optional. So, okay, you roll the ability scores, then you determine race. So step 2, determine race, which is optional. By default, all characters are human. If the game master allows, a player may roll to see if their character is demi-human. Roll 1d6. On the roll of a 1, the character is a demi-human. Proceed to the 0th level demi-human character generation section, see page YYY, whenever layout happens. On any other result, the character is human. Proceed to 0th level human generation. No, I have 0th level human creation first. Why don't we change that on a roll of a 1. That way we're in order with the way that the book lists here. Well, why don't we make that a 6? It would make more sense let's make it a 6. On the roll of a 2 through 5, the character is human. Proceed to 0th level human generation. On a roll of 2 through 5, the character is human. Proceed to, on the roll of a 6, the character is demi-human. That works. That maintains the kind of logical consistency here. On the roll of a 6, the character is demi-human. Proceed to the 0th level demi-human generation section. Okay, gotcha. Half-elf. I'm also 1 to 12th level of awesome on my mother's side. Well, good for you, Stray. I'm glad. Okay, so that takes us to 0th level human creation. To continue creating a human 0th level character, follow the procedure below. Step 3, record ability score modifiers. 0th level characters use the standard ability score adjustment tables, also used by 1st level characters. And we're going to look at that perhaps later tonight. That might be the last thing we look at tonight. Used by 1st level characters. Record those numbers and adjust the character statistics accordingly. So you go and you look up your ability score, your adjustments to different things based on your ability scores. Step 4, record saving throws. All 0th level human characters share the following base saving throws. Death or poison, 14, wands, 15, paralysis and petrification, 16, breath attack, 17, spells, rods, or staves, 18. And that's, just, roll equal to or above on the D20, standard old school kind of stuff. Step 5, record stamina and health points. All 0th level humans begin with 0 stamina. Roll 2d3 for health, adjusting by the character's constitution modifier, minimum 1 health point. Age adjustment. If creating a child or youthful character, apply an additional -2 or -1 health penalty respectively to a minimum of 1. Choose your alignment. If your campaign uses alignment, select 1 now or roll randomly. Standard OSE utilizes lawful, neutral, and chaotic. The GM may provide alternative options specific to the setting. Step 7, record languages. All 0th level characters speak Common. Characters with high intelligence may know additional languages based on the intelligence modifier table. These may be chosen or rolled randomly from a list provided by the GM. Elven, Dwarven, Draconic, etc. Step 8, record adventuring skills. So I've come up with what I think is a pretty good list of adventuring skills. So we're not doing like non-weapon proficiencies and things that, like, oh, I'm a carpenter or something like that. But I do have adventuring skills that adventurers, you would think, would be skilled in. But by default, 0th level characters have a 0 in 6 chance to succeed on all adventuring skills except for open doors, which is determined by strength. On that strength modifier table, certain professions may provide bonuses to certain skills. Step 9, roll for profession. While 0th level characters lack a formal class, they all have a profession. Roll 1d12 on the table corresponding to the character's health points to determine starting profession. And getting all these professions right took a while. The profession will indicate your starting weapon, armor, helmet, gear, additional skills, actually starting money as well. Starting money and any starting spells. Record them on the character sheet. 0th level characters do have a pre-class, however, which is the class the 0th level character will advance to if he or she survives 0th level adventuring and achieves level 1. Some people, it's definitely kind of something that's out there with a staple of 0th level adventuring, that if you survive a 0th level adventure, then you get to like pick your class. And originally I started out that way, but that was too difficult to manage. So instead of saying that, hey, a 0th level character can become any class, I've deliberately grouped these professions into pre-classes so that if you survive, you become a thief or a cleric or something like that. In the event the game master is not using one of the more specialized classes, let's not say advanced, let's just keep it specialized classes, a 0th level character might advance to. Each profession also has a fallback class that defaults to one of the standard core character classes. Standard 4. Let's say standard 4. Specialized classes. Let's give an example of that, such as Ranger, Paladin, or Knight. There we go. So in the event the game master is not using one of the more specialized classes, such as Ranger, Paladin, Knight, etc., a 0th level character might advance to. Each profession has a fallback class that defaults to one of the standard 4 core character classes: Cleric, Fighter, Magic User, and Thief. I want to say or Thief. Why I'm reading this out loud. By default, 0th level characters are unarmored, unshielded, and lack a helmet. The Hacked Edge uses 5 basic armor categories. None. I'm going to say the word classes here. I've used the word armor class someplace else. 5 basic armor classes. None, light, medium, heavy, and extra heavy. Adjust your armor class only if the rolled profession explicitly grants armor. If the profession includes a shield or helmet, record those as well. Note on weapons. 0th level characters do not use separate damage dice for weapon sizes. Instead, they use a single universal damage die dictated by the profession. However, tactical weapon properties such as reach or range still apply. Step 10, roll for starting funds. Each profession lists a specific dice pool for starting copper coins. Roll these dice and record your total. Final details, choose your character's sex and name. Select these yourself or roll for the name on the table. I'm going to put in some name tables here and give your soon-to-be legend or casualty a proper name. And then this is where we go to the profession list. So this was a big deal. This took for freaking ever. And I think it's to the point now, where, okay, it's potentially to the point where we can actually make something with it and test it out. Because your profession is determined by the number of health points you have, which are like your HP, and then you roll a d12. So like this is the table, and I have it listed out like this so that I can more easily convert this to SQL, because I'm going to upload all of these rules into Supabase, an online relational database, so that we can create things like character creators and things like that access the rules. So at the moment, yes, this is, I'm just trying to get all the stats right here. This isn't necessarily the way that it would be written into a book, but it does have, I think it has all the correct information so that I could take that, write the SQL statements, and upload it into a database. And then figure out how it's going to be put into a book. Anyway, so here we've got specifically, this is a magic user. So if you're at 1 or 2 health points, a lot of these are pre-class magic users. You're a pre-class magic user. And like what was making it difficult to have characters become any character class they wanted when they hit first level was that, like, I wanted 0th level characters to like have cantrips. Well, how do you handle like a character that becomes a fighter after having spells or something? I mean, you could do that, and especially in a free form kind of role-playing game, you could definitely do that. But then it would be like, isn't it more optimal if I do a 0th level character and he's kind of wizard-like, and then I make him a fighter, so I'm a fighter with spells, or what? Or how does all that work? That was what I was eliminating. I was streamlining all of that. So here we have, like, the Alchemist's Assistant is a pre-class magic user. Since that's one of the core classes, there's no fallback class. Has a dagger, no armor. We've got armor is like what they're wearing, and then armor maximum is the most that they can put on. I realized that my phraseology here might need some work, because when I say armor maximum, doesn't mean they have no maximum. It means the maximum is actually none. They can't put anything, they can't put on light armor or medium armor or heavy armor. Maximum armor, none. Shield, none. Not only do they don't have a shield and no shield is allowed, they don't have a helmet and no helmet is allowed. They have an item. I tried to get everybody an item. So a vial of acid is the alchemist's assistant's item. Can cast 3 cantrips per day, and I assigned this one the spells Acid Splash, Control Flames, Read Magic, and Read Magic. I gave them all Read Magic, as per one of the suggestions in Carcass Crawler number 5. Let's just make Read Magic a cantrip for magic users and not make that a first level spell. Talking about I want the magic users to have more spells. Let's not require one of them to use their first level spell when they get it to have Read Magic. So I pushed Read Magic down to the cantrip level. And I didn't want to duplicate any of this so that this profession has a unique combination of spells and skills and all of that. Gave them the skill Search. So they're going to get a boost at their search skill, and then also field ID. This is something that I've come up with because I want the identification of items to be an important part of this. You know, there can be a Diablo element that if you find this cool magic sword, you might have to take it to an NPC sage outside of the dungeon to actually figure out what it is. But I also think there are some things that an adventurer would be able to identify, which are like a standard adventuring kinds of things. Is this a potion of health? Is this a potion of flying? Is this poison? Is this, a minor magic sword or a major magic sword? That there's things like that I think should be able to be determined in the field. And so I have made field identification an adventuring skill. And so I have given field ID to my 0th level pre-magic users. Universal damage D2, starting with 44 copper coins. Cult Initiate, another pre-magic user. Dagger, no armor, no shields, no helmet, nothing like that. They get 50 feet of hempen rope, and they get 3 cantrips per day. Chill Touch, Blade Ward, and Read Magic. And then have the skills in Hide and also field ID. Damage D2, 4d4 starting copper. Fortune Teller, this is our option number 3. Staff, no armor, pre-magic user, no helmet, none of that. Small Steel Mirror, cantrips, 3 cantrips per day. This is the only one that does not have an attack spell. So all of the pre-magic users have a utility spell and a attack spell. So like Chill Touch and Blade Ward, or up here, Acid Splash and Control Flames, in addition to Read Magic. The Fortune Teller has Minor Illusion and Prestidigitation, in addition to Read Magic, Hear Noise, and then also Field ID, 2D damage, D2 damage, and 44 starting copper. Wizard's Apprentice, Staff, pre-magic user, no armor weapons, no armor or helmet, anything like that. Flask of Oil, 3 cantrips per day, Ray of Frost, Mage Hand, and Read Magic. Skill Search, and then Field ID. D2 and 44. Starting copper. Hedge Mage, Staff again, no helmet, armor, shield. Healing Poultice, minor Healing Poultice. 3 spells per day, Firebolt, Dancing Light, Read Magic. Skill in Bushcraft here. I've got Bushcraft as our general kind of outdoor skill, rather than having to break this down to, tracking versus, survival or whatever. We're just going to call that Bushcraft. We're also going to have the equivalent of Watercraft if you're operating on the sea, or a freshwater vessel or something. So there's Bushcraft and Watercraft, general categories. So the Hedge Mage gets Bushcraft and Field ID, D2 damage, 44 starting copper. Herbalist, Sickle, but no other armor, shields, or helmets. Minor Healing Poultice as well. Poison Spray, Mending, and Read Magic for the cantrips, 3 a day, as well as Search. Field ID, D2 damage, and starting copper, 44. Then we also have at this low level, that's 6 different kinds of pre-magic users. that are right there. Then we go to pre-thief, and we have grave robber, which is pre-thief. Okay, no fallback class here because thief is a standard class, one of our 4 standard classes. Dagger, no armor, shield. Actually, this is pre-thief, so I kind of think armor maximum. Is that right? The last thing I did was put in the armor maximum because I realized, oh, I need that. But thieves, I believe, should be able to wear light armor, right? So armor maximum needs to become light. I wanted the armor maximum to match. This good thing I'm reading through this again. This is why I'm doing it, because I wanted the armor maximum to match the armor maximum of the class. Stray says, my players identified a cursed item I set called the Rod of Bees Blight, and it attracts bees. That's all that it does. So I need to search for that. So as we're going through here, all of the pre-thief, I did go back and forth as to whether, okay, you've got the lock picking skill, but do you need lock picks, or is it just assumed that you have lock picks? For a long time, I was just assuming, okay, you've got lock picks if you have the lock picking skill, but on the other hand, you know, it is something you're going to lose. So I decided to go ahead and put like lock picks as the second item for something like the locksmith's apprentice. Can thieves not use helmets? We will see. 3 skills here: pick locks, hear noise, and search, but no spells. D2 damage as well, starting copper 44. So profession burglar. Hook with short rope as the, I think I was eliminating the word short. Hook with rope as far as my gear goes. Lock picks. Yeah, pick skill, pick lock. They can climb and hide, no spells, but they get more skills. Be useful in the dungeon. D2 and 44. Cut purse, armor maximum. I mean, what is this? This book does say over here. Right, if I'm looking at thief here. And I was trying to standardize it rather than saying, I don't know, what type of, like, you know, mail shirt or something like that, you know, can you wear? Yeah, thief says it can wear leather and no shields. So, yeah, so I would assume light. So leather armor would be light. So, yeah, I'm correct in moving that over to pre-thieves can wear up to light armor. They don't start with it. Caltrops, this person has skill in sleight of hand, hide, and hear noise. Rat catcher. Okay, let's change that. Comes with a sling as well as sling stones to go with that. I made sure that also if you have a missile weapon that your item 2 was your ammunition. Item 1, 10-foot pole. Hide, search, and critical care. Poacher. Armor maximum light. No shields. Torch. Quiver of arrows. Skills in bushcraft, hear noise, and hide. Then you go to 3 and 4 health points. And I believe I introduced the cleric here. So I still had 12 is a lot. I started with 12 different professions because that's what Carcass Crawler was using. But that ended up being a lot. I mean, I got it done, but there's a lot of variety. That means there are 48 different possible player character 0th level professions. All unique. Pre-magic user. Cartographer's assistant. Dagger, no armor, helmet, shield. Small steel mirror. Dropping now down to 2 cantrips per day because they're a little bit physically beefier. Firebolt, Mage Hand, Read Magic, Bushcraft, and Field ID. Dropping down to 3d4 starting copper, but in this case, retaining 2d universal damage because it's a pre-magic user. There was Cultist Initiate. Now we have Cultist here with the sickle. No other types of weapon armor, or armor, shields, helmet. Wine skin. I want to differentiate mechanically between water, wine, and ale. So I want those to have physically different properties. Cantrips per day 2, but the spells known include Poison Spray, Minor Illusion, Read Magic. Got Hide, Field ID, D2, 3D4. Antiquarian's Assistant has a staff and a crowbar. Two spells per day, Acid Splash, Mending, and Read Magic. Search and Field ID, 3D4 starting copper with D2 damage. Okay, I believe that was 4 different pre-magic users at the 3 to 4 health level. Pre-thief then moves to smuggler. So smuggler, short sword. I had not standardized the way that I was writing all of these, but I believe I was saying like sword short. Grappling hook with rope. Yeah, that removed short. Sleight of hand, swim, and hide. Now I'm afraid of skill bloat. I do not want there to be skill bloat, but I have been increasing the number. Swim was one of the original adventuring skills, and that seems to make sense to me. Swim as an adventuring skill. But then when I introduce watercraft, you go, hey, well, can't you just simplify swim into watercraft? And I was highly tempted to do that, and I still remain tempted to do that. But to me, the way that it's most commonly used in a game like this with adventuring, swim and watercraft seem different, right? Skill, hide. Because, a character who, just is used to being out by the river like a fighter might know how to swim, but not actually know anything else that has to do with the manual operation of boats and, that kind of thing. And likewise, you could be a mariner who doesn't know how to swim. It's hardly like that's uncommon. Mountebank, pre-thief, fighter. Okay, I fixed the light, maximum armor light. Yes, bag of chalk. Hey, RPG Gen Exile. Good to see you. Welcome. We're doing what I think is going to be a final read-through, basically, of all the 0th level stuff before it can actually be uploaded and tested. And we're finding a few things here or there, so it's good to do. No spells, sleight of hand, hear noise, and search. Starting copper 3D4. Bandit going to club. No stuff. I've got to think about large canvas sack. I'm inspired by the torchbearer style of inventory, and they definitely use sacks. So we get large canvas sack, but that may not be useful enough to give as an item. Because, like I said, I'm wanting all of these items to be mechanical. Skill hide, bushcraft, and hear noise. Universal damage D2, starting copper 3D4. Then we go to pre-cleric. Yeah, so then I have 4 pre-clerics at the 3 and 4 health point rating. So porter, and this is porter as in the person in the church who guards the door, not porter as in the person who would carry stuff for you. But this is porter, the type of cleric who is actually responsible for the door of the church. Pre-class cleric, weapon club, armor none, armor maximum light, no shield, but shield is allowed, helmet none, but helmet is allowed, 10-foot pole, 2 cantrips, virtue, and guidance. And we'll go into the different cantrips, later. But I believe all of the pre-clerics, I gave all of the pre-clerics guidance. So that's the standard pre-cleric spell, and then the others rotate. The other spell that the cleric has rotates. They don't have as many spells per day, nor spells known as the pre-magic users, because they have other things. Skill climb goes to the porter. Pilgrim has a staff, no armor but light allowed, no shield but shield allowed, no helmet but helmet allowed, has wineskin, has resistance and guidance as skills, and then, as cantrips, and then skill and critical care. Universal damage D3. Okay, so did I go up here? Oh yeah, so also with the cleric, so the cleric's universal damage has increased. The pre-clerics has. So now we're up at D3. Pilgrim also D3. Lector, club as well. No armor, shield, or helmet, even though they are allowed. I have got to think about flint, steel, and tinder. I also think this is probably a bad item I mean, you think flint, steel, and tinder, I mean, it's kind of a classic adventuring item, but my concern is how does it actually pair and work with other items like the torch and the lantern? Like, hey, this person just has flint, steel, and tinder. What is it they're going to be able to do? Does somebody who has the lantern also have to have flint, steel, and tinder? I don't really think so. That seems to get into like, item bloat that, oh, I've got my torch, but I can't actually use it because it doesn't say on my character sheet that I have steel, flint, and tinder. Oh, this other character does, so they can light my torch for me. Maybe some method of ignition is assumed when you're working with like the lantern and the torch and stuff. And so I need to make that explicit and or come up with something for the flint, steel, and tinder to actually do that's more exciting. I'm going to think about that more as I finish gear, because I was working on gear. So flint, steel, and tinder. So that one may be one of the more useless items and needs to get replaced. Cantrips per day, thaumaturgy, and then guidance. Hear noise, and skill field ID. So you see here is a pre-cleric right here, the lector that also has the skill field ID. D3 damage, 3d4 starting copper. And then you also get into pre-fighters. Actually, so it might have been 3. I think it's 3 then, because there are 12 total professions at each grouping of hit points. So it must be 3. Like lector, pilgrim, and porter are so there's 3 per to give us a total of 12, because there are also pre-fighters at this level as well. So town watchman, fighter gets a spear, but armor maximum is extra heavy like fighters are. No shield, but allowed. A half helmet, which is like open-faced, but and helmet is allowed. Yes, they get 50 feet of rope. No cantrips. Skill and hear noise up to D4. So they have D4 damage. So you can see how I'm kind of incrementing this here. So this is because this is a pre-fighter. They're going to get D4 damage, and they got 34 coppers. A torchbearer with a dagger, no armor, but a small shield and no helmet, has a torch, no cantrip, skill and search, universal damage D4, and starting copper 3d4. Blacksmith's apprentice is also a pre-fighter with a hammer, is wearing light armor, can have up to extra heavy armor, iron spikes and mallet, skill and climb, universal damage D3. Is that deliberate? Why is that one D3? Maybe it was because they're wearing light armor? I don't know. Let's just standardize it. That's a pre-fighter, so let's go to D4. Tier 3, 5 and 6 health points. And remember, kind of assuming that the average, the normal man has 6. So then we go to more pre-clerics here. Friar, profession friar, with a staff, armor none, but armor maximum heavy. Clerics should be able to wear up to heavy armor. No, armor maximum light. Okay, so that's medium. No, heavy. Clerics, the fighters can go extra heavy, but the clerics can go up to heavy. Not really expecting a 0th level character to do that, but I wanted to keep that consistent. Okay, so heavy. No, heavy. See, pre-fighter, watchman, extra heavy. Stray says, back in the day, there was a firekeeper. Adventurers will notice it's hard to light a candle with flint and steel, but easy to light a candle with a torch and all that nonsense. Firekeepers guard the lantern. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know that if just having flint and steel alone is going to be significant enough. What is the character with flint and steel going to be able to, like, if it's important to light something on fire in the dungeon, okay, what would you be able to do with flint and steel that you couldn't do if you just had a flaming torch? I don't think much. Okay, so now, friar, Armor maximum heavy. No shield but allowed, no helmet but allowed, wineskin, guidance and resistance, hear noise. D3 damage, starting copper 2d4. So now we're dropping our starting copper to 2d4 because we are up at the 5 and 6 health point level. Flagellant, pre-class cleric with a flail, no armor but up to heavy, no shield but allowed, no helmet but allowed. Vial of holy water for the item, resistance, and then also cure trifling wound with critical care. D3 damage, 2d4 starting copper. Acolyte, pre-cleric, mace, no armor but heavy, no shield but allowed, no helmet but allowed. Flint, steel, and tinder, see, questionable. 2 cantrips per day, light and sacred flame. Oh, you know what? That's these clerics change up my standard. This one has resistance, but I think that's okay. Resistance, that makes sense for the flagellant, and then, which is different from flatulence. This is the flagellant here. Can cure trifling wound, that makes sense. The acolyte has light and sacred flame. Okay, so I didn't make it wasn't completely universal that all the pre-clerics had guidance then, but that was something that the earlier ones did. The physically weaker ones did. Skill and search, D3 damage like pre-clerics do, starting copper 2d4, got it. Then you move over to pre-fighters. Merchant guard, spear, light armor, maximum extra heavy. Yes, has a shield, and it's allowed, but no helmet. This one has a lantern. No cantrips, of course, being pure fighter, and we got D4 or pre-fighter D4 universal damage. Gotcha. Town militia, pre-class fighter, spear, light armor up to extra heavy, no shield but allowed, half helmet but allowed, lantern, skill and search, D4 and 2d4 starting coppers. City guard, pre-class fighter with a halberd, armor medium, armor maximum extra heavy, no shield, a half helmet, a torch. Does this person need a torch if they does this person need a torch if they have a halberd? Probably not. What is another type of gear I could give them? They could get the ale flask. Right now I only have the dwarf allowed to have the ale. Why don't we give the town guard the ale? Ale, what did I call it? Ale skin. Okay, so let's just say that's ale skin. So human profession. Instead of a torch, when you're trying to carry around a halberd and use that, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Wait, where am I? City guard. City guard. Item 1. Ale skin. That lets a human have ale. I like that. Pre-ranger. So here we have the woodsman is a pre-ranger, but has a fallback class 2 fighter. Hand axe, light armor up to an armor maximum of medium. No shield but allowed. No helmet but allowed. Hempen rope, skill in bushcraft. D4 damage. Bounty hunter. So are all is this also a pre-ranger? Is this also D4 damage? Yes, with a crossbow. Crossbow, which includes bolts. So I've got the weapon and its ammunition, grappling hook with rope, skill and hide. Pre-knight. Exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking. It's exactly the kind of thing I was thinking of straight. The guard's ale for medicinal purposes. Pre-knight. This is a squire. Fallback class 2 fighter. Arming sword. Medium armor. Starting with medium armor up to extra heavy. Shield, yes, and a half helm. Small steel mirror. Skill and critical care. D4 universal damage, 2d4 coppers. Man-at-Arms, pre-class to fighter, but pre-class to knight, fall back to fighter. Spear, medium armor with a shield, no helmet though, iron spikes and mallet. Skill and ride. That might be the first time that one's come up. Universal damage D4, starting copper 2d4. Pre-paladin, the temple initiate with a fallback to cleric. Now here, like the paladin would be allowed to have up to extra heavy armor, but I didn't put anything that was there that wouldn't also be valid for the fallback. So since the cleric's fallback is heavy, I went with heavy armor maximum for the temple initiate. But as you know, if they become a paladin, then that goes up to extra heavy. But if they have to remain a cleric, they're not wearing extra heavy armor. They have to give up or something like that. Shield, yes. Helmet, none, but allowed. Holy water, 1 cantrip per day in the pre-paladin area, and they get resistance, and they also have critical care. A sexton, this is the person who looks after the church's like grounds and also the cemetery and things like that. This is a pre-class of the paladin, fallback to cleric. Mace, light armor, maximum of medium armor. That should be maximum of heavy armor. Shield, none. Shield allowed, yes. Helmet, none, but allowed. Has a crowbar, can cast virtue as a cantrip, and also has critical care as a skill. D4. And then we go to 7+ health points, which is the highest level that you can get. If you're rolling 2d3 points, you're rolling 2d3 for your health, and then you're modifying by your constitution. 7+ health points is as high as you can get. I mean, you could have 8, so you can have up to a +3 for constitution. So if you roll your maximum at 6, you could get up to 9. So these are the big ones. So this is why we have like pre-barbarian, the pre-barbarian. So the tribal warrior with a fallback to fighter. Club, no armor, but maximum medium. No shield, no helmet, but can wear them. A vial of antitoxin as the item. Skill in bushcraft. Universal damage D6. Boom, there you go. Well, welcome pre-barbarian. D6 damage. Starting copper here, we're dropping this down to 1d4. Berserker, you get the battle axe, very similar. Minor healing poultice. Skill and hear noise, D6 damage, 1d4 starting copper. Pit gladiator, trident. Maybe I just make that a spear. Armor, none. Maximum medium. Got some caltrops with you. Skill and climb, D6 damage, starting copper, 1d4. Tribal exile, also pre-barbarian with a great sword. No armor. Wait, I'm out of order here. Armor. There we go. So this one has flint and steel. You need to come up with something that can go for all of the flint and steel and just do a find and replace, I think. Universal damage D6. Starting copper D4. Then we go to pre-fighter, mercenary. Arming sword, up to extra heavy. Starts with medium armor and a shield and half helm. This person's well armored. Oil flask. Skill and critical care, D4 damage, because we're pre-fighter rather than pre-barbarian. Starting copper, 1d4. Heavy infantry with a halberd with medium armor and a half helmet with rations. D4 damage, starting copper, 1d4. Corsair, okay, we're going to remove the word short here with the rope. Grappling hook with rope, wearing light armor with a hand axe. Perfectly suited for naval boarding opportunities. Skill in swim and watercraft. D4 damage, 1d4 starting copper. Bodyguard, profession bodyguard, pre-fighter. Mace and medium armor. Shield, but no helmet. Flask of oil. Skill and hear noise. Universal damage D4, and then 1d4 with starting copper. Pre-knight, prodigal heir. I really like that one. Arming sword in medium armor. No shield and no helmet, but a wineskin skill in ride, and field identification. So you do have some one of the higher level ones, or the higher health with field identification. But really, if you want the field identification, you need to keep your scholars alive down at the low end. Cavalry trooper, pre-class knight, spear, medium, shield, and half helm. Got a sack. I don't know. I might need to replace the sack as well. D4 damage, D4 copper. Pre-paladin. Here we have pre-paladin again. Relic bearer with a warhammer, medium armor, shield. Holy water, critical care. As a skill, D4 damage, and starting copper 1d4. The temple squire with a morning star, medium armor, no shield, a half helm, a flask of alchemist fire, hear noise, and universal damage of D4. Whew! I think that was 48 different professions. And I think they're pretty solid. And I like the way they go with the health points. So really the gear I need to look at again. Okay, does the flint and steel work? And does the sack work, or do we need more useful items than that? But I'm very interested in also breaking this down statistically. I think it would be fantastic to get this loaded in to be able to generate characters like on the Ravenkeep website or something. So that's close. So we got some questions about the gear, and I'm still working on that. Thank you, Stray. But that's 48. But that's not even it. It's not even done. That's not even all, rather, because there's also the demi-humans. Let's look at that. I mean, while we're sitting here working, let's go ahead and look at this. And then that way, maybe gear, weapons, and cantrips can be the next live stream. And then maybe be able to like start putting this as something that can be formatted for playtest and to experiment with it. So remember, we had a split for humans. So all of those were humans. But we had a split so that if you roll a 6, then you go to demi-human creation. And so this is our demi-human creation. So 0th level demi-human generation. Okay, this is now supposed to be a 6. If a 6 is rolled on the racial determination die, and I kind of do like it being a 6 more than a 1. So let's go with 6. If a 6 was rolled on the racial determination die, step 2 of the general process, the character belongs to a non-human heritage. Use the following procedure to generate their remaining statistics. Step 3, determine race and adjust abilities. Roll D4 to determine your character's race. Because demi-humans have natural predispositions, they must meet certain minimum ability scores. Hey, Charlie. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Great to see you. So this is pulled from OSE. So the dwarf has a minimum con 9, elf minimum int 9, gnome minimum con 9, halfling minimum con 9, and minimum dex 9. I think last time we talked about this, I had said in the rules, if your character doesn't meet the minimum requirement, then it's shunted back to being a human. But I decided to not do that, because the next rule is automatic adjustment right here. If your rolled scores are lower than the racial minimum in a given ability score, increase the deficient score to the required minimum. And so this is actually the only way that you can get a ability score, a buff to your ability score at 0th level, because I decided this is pretty rare anyway to be rolling a demi-human character. You got to roll a 6 on a D6, assuming your game master allows you to make the roll and you want to make the roll to see if you're going to be a demi-human. You got to roll that 6, and then once you roll the D6, you've got only a 1 in 4 chance of being any particular demi-human, dwarf, elf, gnome, or halfling. And so if I had the game have you potentially even then not be able to qualify for that demi-human, then, I mean, it's only going to become rarer. So what I just said is, no, if yes, I got the 6, and okay, I rolled an elf. Oh, I have an int of 8, so I got to bounce back to human. That kind of sucks. So what I just said is that if your rolled scores are lower than the racial minimum in any ability score, any given ability score, increase the deficient score to the required minimum. I mean, it's still the minimum. Yeah. But okay, so you could luck out. Oh my God, I rolled a 7 in intelligence, but then I rolled a 6, and then I rolled an elf, and so I get to boost my elf intelligence up to 9. Then record ability score modifiers. So you have to do that on this track because you could potentially modify your ability scores if you are demi-human in order to get up to the necessary minimum. 0th level demi-human characters use the standard ability score adjustment tables on PYYY, also used by first level characters. Record these numbers and adjust the character statistics accordingly. We'll look at that. Record saving throws. So unlike humans, demi-humans have resilient constitutions or innate magical resistance that grants them better survival odds against specific threats. Basically, what I did was I took the demi-human saving throws from Old School Essentials for first level demi-humans and basically halved them. I looked at what the standard human was, and then I looked at what the level 1. I looked at what the 0th level human was. That's what it was. I looked at what the 0th level human saving throw was. I looked at what the level 1 demi-human saving throw was, and then basically went to half of that difference. So dwarves have death or poison at 11, wands at 12, paralyzation and petrification at 13, breath attacks at 15, rod spells and staves at 15. This is all equal to or over. Elves get death or poison at 13, wands 14, paralysis and petrification 14, breath attacks 16, spells, rods, or staves 16. Gnome saving throws go death or poison 11, wands 12, paralysis and petrification 13, breath attacks 15, spells, rods, or staves 15. And then halflings have death or poison 11, wands 12, paralysis or petrification 13, breath attacks 15, spell, rods, and staves 15. All step 6, record languages. All demi-humans speak common and their racial languages. Characters with high intelligence may know additional languages based on the intelligence modifier table. These can be chosen or rolled randomly from a list provided by the GM. Step 7, record adventuring skills. By default, this is also a change from the humans. By default, all demi-humans begin with a base 1 in 6 chance in the hear noise skill and a 0 in 6 chance in all other adventuring skills, except for open doors, which is determined by strength. Certain professions may provide bonuses to certain skills. Then we record racial traits. Demi-humans possess the following unique traits. Dwarves have infravision up to 60 feet and a 2 in 6 chance to detect room traps. Elves have infravision and total immunity to ghoul paralysis. Gnomes have infravision up to 90 feet, and opponents of large size or greater suffer a -2 penalty to the attack, which are damage rolls against them. Halfling +2 to all missile attack damage rolls. Opponents of large size or greater suffer a -2 penalty to attack rolls against them. Now, here you go to rolling your health, which are like your hit points. In the Hacked Edge, demi-human health varies significantly by race. You can see how these are this is similar to generating a 0th level human, but it's different enough that I had to write it. I felt like I needed to write it up separately rather than trying to go back. If you're human, do this. If you're this, if you go. So it's just 2 different tracks. Dwarves have 4d2 starting health and 0 starting stamina at 0th level. Elves have 3d2 health and no stamina. Gnomes have 2d2 health and 0 stamina. Halflings have 3d2 health and also 2d2 stamina. And I think that is too much. We're going to drop this down to 1d2 stamina, representing their innate luck. So the only 0th level characters that should start with stamina, unless you have high constitution, are the halflings. Step 9, choose alignment. If the campaign uses alignment, select 1, lawful, neutral, or chaotic, or roll randomly. Demi-humans tend to lean heavily toward lawful or neutral, but the GM may provide alternative options specific to the setting. Step 10, determine profession. Okay, so this is also different with the demi-humans. A character's profession is determined by its race and final health point total. No roll is required. The profession determines your starting weapon, armor, helmet, shield, gear, additional spells, additional skills, starting funds, and any starting spells. Record them on the character sheet. By default, 0th level characters are unarmored, unshielded, and lack a helmet. The Hacked Edge uses 5 basic armor classes. We changed that over to classes. None, light, medium, heavy, and extra heavy. Adjust your armor class only if the rolled profession explicitly grants armor. If the profession includes a shield or helmet, record those as well. So here are our demi-human professions, because we talked about that last time, and when Sable was on, Sable was like, well, probably the demi-human should go to the same professions as the humans, which does make sense in many ways, except for the fact that the demi-humans are going to proceed to their racial class, because this is using class as race. And so they need to have their pre-class be their racial class. That's the way it has to be done in order to not mess up the system when progressing from 0 to 1st. So these have to be, so they're going to getting their own kind of racial professions, but I just did not feel like it was necessary at all to come up with as extensive a list for the demi-humans as we came up with for the humans. That seems like a real waste of effort, and also waste of space as far as the book goes. So, because you're just not going to be using it all that often. So instead, I just said, for instance, okay, here's our dwarven profession list. Dwarves have a minimum constitution of 9, so they're never going to have a negative constitution modifier. So when they're rolling 42 HP, they're never going to have less than 4. They can have more than 8 if they have positive constitution, but they're going to have less than 4. So I looked at this for all of our different demi-humans. So a 4 HP dwarf becomes a brewer, a 4 to 6 HP dwarf becomes a miner, a 7 or 8 HP dwarf becomes an armorer's apprentice, and a 9 or more HP dwarf becomes a tunnel guard. Elves can go down to 1 HP, so 1 and 2 HP elves are apprentice scribe, 3 to 4 are lore master's apprentice, 5 to 6 are minstrels, and 7 plus are woods watchers. Gnomish professions include 2 to 3 points being an apprentice illusionist, 4 points being a tinker, 5 points being a forager. Halfling professions include 3 points being a baker. They can't go negative either. The gnomes can't go negative. You can never have a 1 HP gnome. Halfling professions end up with 3 being baker, 4 to 5 being farmer, 6 to 7 being burglar's apprentice, and then 8 plus being bounder's trailhand. So then you roll for starting funds. Each profession lists a specific dice pool for starting copper coins. Roll these dice and record your total. Step 12 is final details. Choose your character's sex and name. And I guess I'll have to come up with name tables for the demi-humans. So the next thing that I did, of course, look, it's more professions. So in this case, like the brewer, so the dwarves here, the brewer starts with the club. My demi-human profession is stable master and bow sniffer. You can clearly see which side of my family was disappointed. Okay. That the brewer has the ale skin right here. So that was the dwarf with the ale skin. Hear noises, universal damage 1d4. Starting copper 4d4. Miner starts with a pick. No armor, no shield, or no helmet, although they can use them. Why is miner having medium armor? Dwarves can go up to heavy armor. Armor maximum medium. I think it's going to be unusual for a 0th level character to have that. But if they find it, okay, use it. Hear noise and search. Universal damage D. Oh, I have the brewer doing D4 damage. Okay. But the miner does D6 damage. The armor's apprentice does D6 damage. Okay. Armor maximum heavy on armor's apprentice, tunnel guard. I guess at one time I must have decided to restrict something about the lower level dwarves. I think it's probably not necessary. Flint and steel. Again, I need to think about that one. Universal damage D6. Once we go to elven professions, we start with apprentice scribe, pre-class elf, weapon dagger, no armor, shield, or helmet. Shield allowed, no. Is that right? I think I was thinking about that because it's here in OSE, elf is armor, any armor including shields. I think I was restricting these because these appear more scholarly, but it seems like what I've been doing is allowing anything that an elf could ultimately be. But I think that did I just go? Let me consult my elf down here, which is our level 1 elf, armor maximum heavy. Yeah. Okay. Let's go with that. They can use shields. The apprentice scribe has minor healing poultice, but gets cantrips per day. Does get read magic, acid splash, and blade ward. Has hear noise as well as the field ID capability and universal damage 1d4. I mean, the elves are up there. Lore Master's Apprentice. That's yes. Long knife. Iron rations, read magic, ray of frost, prestidigitation, hear noise, and field ID. Universal damage D4. So I mean, the elves, the caster type elves still deal more damage than like the caster type humans. Minstrel, dagger. This is still an elf. So this really needs to move up to heavy, but none that they have. Okay, but yes, wineskin, read magic, firebolt, dancing lights. Also, field ID with hear noise, 1d4, starting copper, 2d4. I'm reducing the number of copper coins here with the number of hit points they've got. Woods Watcher. And that was probably my thinking up here. Is like, well, yeah, the scribe is going to be a real rare kind of character anyway, so why not go ahead and let them have like heavy armor if they can find it. Woods Watcher, light armor maximum that needs to be heavy, shield allowed but none that's given, hempen rope, quiver of arrows because they've got a short bow, read magic, poison spray, dancing lights, 1d4 and 1d4 damage and 1d4 starting copper. Gnomish professions, of which we have 3: illusionist profession, apprentice illusionist, weapon, staff, no armor, maximum of light armor, no shield, but you can use one. Okay. I kind of want to check that. Bag of chalk, steel flint and tinder, 2 cantrips per day, read magic. Probably the gnomes only have up to 4 hit points. The gnomes are kind of squishy. Maybe they should have 3 cantrips. Read magic, minor illusion. Does have field ID. Tinker has a hammer, light armor, shield allowed. I mean, that makes sense. Shield and helmet allowed. They're all becoming the same type of gnome at the end of the day. Read magic, mending if they make it to level 1. Hear noise, field ID, universal damage 1d3. Okay, that's the same. Starting copper 2d4. Forager drops to 1d4. Starting copper, yes. 1d3 universal damage. Read magic and mage hand. Yeah, I kind of feel like the gnomes need a third spell. Halfling professions include baker with a club, no armor, up to light armor makes sense. Yes, shields and helmets. Hear noise and hide. Starting copper 44 with the universal damage of 1d3. The farmer, we should drop starting money. Yes. Rations with a pitchfork. I wonder if pitchfork was on my weapon list. I'll have to check that. There's a lot of cross-referencing and that kind of stuff. Armor, light, shield none. Yes, got that. Hear noise and hide for them. Burglar's apprentice. Weapon, dagger, armor none, maximum of light. You can use shields and helmets, small steel, and then small steel mirror and 50 foot of hemp and rope. Hear noise, hide, and pick lock. Did I put pick locks? Oh, no, I did not. Since this one has skill pick lock, let's put lock picks in item 2. Bounder's trail hand. It's a sling, no armor, but up to medium armor. Maybe halflings can have up to medium armor in general. Armor allowed, shield allowed, yes. Bag of caltrops and sling stones. I think this is just caltrops now instead of bag of. I was thinking about how to name all of the gear so that you start with the actual item it is, like caltrops. If you're looking it up in alphabetical order, you would look up caltrops. You probably wouldn't look up B for bag of caltrops. Likewise, like sling stones, pouch of. Whew, okay. Let me take notes here. Well, let's see. Check. I'm going to put notes up here at the top. So, do gnomes need another spell? Notes. Do gnomes? No. Gnomes need another spell. And then also standardize halfling max armor. Those are the big issues. And then for gear, we go down here to gear. Notes. I am questioning the utility of the sack and the flint and steel. Those seem to be some things I have to think about. Okay, so it's not quite there yet, but you can tell it's getting close. It is close. It is close. Okay, so I do have the ability score modifiers, the gear, the weapons, the cantrips, and then make up some name tables. But I've been working on weapons. I've been working on cantrips. So you can see a lot's been done, but we won't talk about those tonight. I am getting closer, though. So I feel like I'm getting very close, and I want to tackle this and keep going and get it done. So we're going to wrap up here shortly. Stray says, I had a gnomish fighter player in full plate named Thorn. He said someone trampled his garden and now they're going to pay. He used a bastard sword as a great sword. That's fun. I had played a gnomish character once, and I really liked it. I thought it was fun. So that's why I wanted to include the gnome here, because sometimes I don't see them played very often, but I enjoyed playing a gnome. Okay. All right. So we're getting closer. So that's what we got. I appreciate everybody joining me right now. I think it'd be fun to actually run some tests and do a Python program to generate the characters and then test them out, fighting things and things like that, and actually play test it. But I realized I can't do that until I've actually written the rules. So like I said, no matter what you got to do something else first. I'm like, oh, okay, I can't create some kind of cool script or something to do something with these characters until I've got the whole characters, until I have the character, how to play and the rules laid out. So that's what I've been doing. I have been tackling that all week. So, all right, have a wonderful night, everybody. I'm probably going to work for another couple hours here, and then I'm going to be out of here as well. So have a wonderful evening, everybody. Enjoy some good sleep and pleasant dreams. Later, everybody.